Saka. Rice. Trossard. Odegaard. White. Oh! Everything's going right. Arsenal are so good, they're soaring by mistake.
Here at the ArsenalVision Podcast, we serve both kinds of people. The people that are happy that Arsenal beat Forest, and the people that can't stand that Southampton gifted those goals to Liverpool. This is the ArsenalVision Post-Match Podcast. My name's Elliot Smith. You can block me on Twitter, Yankee Gunner. This is the duality of man, right? You are either sitting there right now, and you are saying, Arsenal are good, and it fills me with joy, and I watched us play well, and we're going to be good. Or you are sitting there going, how the f*** did Southampton gift those goals to Liverpool? And you're furious because we didn't make up ground on Liverpool. And maybe there's a little bit of both in it. I have to be honest. I think you know which way I skew. I can't get those goals that Southampton gifted Liverpool out of my head. But, City lost 4-0 at home to Spurs. United couldn't beat Ipswich away. It is a really interesting season. And I think what we saw against Forest on a very wet, very windy night is that the real Arsenal may be ready to show its face. And if that happens, I still feel pretty confident that the Liverpool I watched struggle against Southampton to some extent is catchable. So there's a lot still in it. This pod will be focused on Arsenal, as you can imagine, and on the win over Forest. And I think we'll try to stay narrowly focused on that. I will tell you that I am sitting here staring into the puppy dog eyes of Clive Palmer, who is 2.5, 3 feet away from me, smirking at me, worried what I'm going to say next. From a hotel room in Lisbon, we are looking forward to watching what will inevitably, hopefully, be a better match than the Porto one that we saw last season. Can't be worse, let's put it that way. And for patrons, there will be a full instant reaction from Tim and Paul at full time as ever, so you can grab that. I do want to say this. So we won the Football Content Award Best Premier League Podcast. It just was a wonderful night, wonderful to spend some time with people, to see Clive, to get that recognition for the community. And I said on the prior pod, it is a celebration of everything we all feel together. I was talking to a friend of mine last night. There's a real crisis of loneliness and isolation in our society today, and I think we're all looking for communities to feel a part of. I know I even feel that a little bit from my sort of suburban dwelling that I'm usually in. Coming to London, coming to Lisbon, being around people helps. But the podcast community gives me a sense of belonging. I hope it does that for you as well. And I hope that, winning that award in some way is sort of a validation for our community. One thing I wanted to do is say, what's something I can do for people that want, that want more stuff from us. And I know the Patreon is there, the Apple subscription. What I've done is I've activated a discount code. It's the first time Patreon has made this available, so I'm trying it out. If you put in code 10NIL, all caps, TENNIL, between now and the end of the year, 50% off your Patreon. So that's the Christmas period, right? All the busy games, all the instant reactions, all the new countdown format we did. You can watch the scouting videos, you can watch the rewatches, and come see if you like it. For what is that? That's like £2, basically. So hopefully that's just something that if you want some extra stuff right now or you need it, it's there for you. If not, and you just want to be here again, love you for being here. And we'll actually give away some stuff too as we get closer to the holidays. So just a huge amount of gratitude and gratefulness to you for being here. Clive is waiting to get introduced here. Sort of like, okay, mate, we get it. All right. Clive's here. Hey, buddy.
Hello. So how are you?
Yeah.
Well, actually, listen, just a little bit of info. I just arrived in Lisbon. I literally just got shown into my room. My backside hit the settee and bing, the phone rang. Elliot, let's do a pod. Do you know what I mean? Literally within seconds. So here I am, right? So with a beer in hand, about to start the day.
And I was out till 3 a.m. last night, which at my tender age is not a thing that I do very often. Brain's a little scrambled right now.
You can handle it. I can't handle it. You can.
I think every once in a while you just need to do it for yourself, right? Like turn back the clock.
Nope.
I mean, yeah, look, does my back hurt, my ankle hurt, my elbow hurt, my head hurt? And yeah, I mean, I feel now like a man of my age who was out till 3 a.m, but it was certainly worth it. Looking forward to seeing a lot of people this week as well. So, okay, enough of the nonsense. Arsenal 3-0. Clive, the easiest, most obvious place to start with this game, because I think it's an entry point to some of the most interesting conversations, is the lineup. Obviously, we're going to have a big chat about Odegaard. But there were some interesting choices, and I think there was some anxiety about these choices because I really palpably felt the weight of expectation on this game. For the people like myself who still believe the really good Arsenal is in here and going to show itself, this was the moment that had to start. The sort of explanations for why it hadn't happened were melting away. It's a home game, a team we should beat, even if they're good. We have some of our most important players back. There's expectation. And then suddenly, Jesus starting at striker. And it's Trossard off the left. And it's Jorginho in midfield. Not exactly what people expected. So what was your thought on his decision to make some of those selection choices?
I think it's a sign of maturity, to be honest. Obviously, the panic, we were all together when that team sheet came out. And it's quite interesting watching people, even some of our patrons, panicking when the team sheet was. And I didn't panic, but I think I was drinking. I didn't panic. But in our minds, let's be honest, we've done lots of previews and conversations about this game, and we all knew this was our Champions League quarter-final game. We had to win it. We had to win it. So in our minds, we picked the strongest team possible. And the only reason they weren't going to play is they were injured. And then to see some people not playing but on the bench, sign of maturity and growth really in the manager and him looking at the week as a whole and him showing confidence in his group.
Yeah.
So suddenly we look deeper as a squad. We look more confident as a group. We played really, really well with the players that we had on the pitch. I mean, we're not talking dog and duck here, are we? I mean, that back five could be the best back five that we have with the goalkeeper, full stop for many people. And they were on the pitch for the first time in a while. When they're on the pitch, good things happen, And so, yeah, in midfield, absolutely fine. And I liked it, And I said on the IR, I don't want to be a Mr. After Timer. But you were there with me. I was quite relaxed, wasn't I? I was quite relaxed, and I liked it because it's a new way of thinking. And I know I keep banging on about it, but if we keep doing what we always did, we're not going to get there. If we keep playing the best 11 until we turn up at the Allianz in Munich and they can barely run, that's not going to work, right? So we have to change what we do, and we did, and we all walked away with some really good feelings. So, yeah, fair play to the manager on that one.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons you're relaxed is I just suck all the anxiety out of the room. There's no room left for it.
And a couple of your mates as well, they are just about the same age.
So let me be the one to say, you're welcome. Clive, I think the Jorginho selection is interesting because whatever you want to be first choice midfield, and I know you don't think of it that way, and some people want to see Rice be in it, and some people want to see Jorginho or Partey be in it, or whoever it is. It has surprised me how infrequently he's been used, given how influential he was last season. And since Partey's come back to fitness, he has just been picked every game. And so that tells you what the hierarchy is in the manager's mind. But I thought it was reassuring, whether you think Jorginho is going to play a lot or not, that he was able to start a game of this importance and be influential in it. And, we'll talk about him having to come off, but what do you think of what he gave us and just the ability to make sure he's still in the group and someone we can still call on, not just in some, game where we're up 3 goals or a League Cup game or something like that?
Yeah, we found a player again, haven't we? It's simple as that. And there were some things that he did really, really well in that half. I watched it. I rewatched Elliot when I got home. And there were times when he was even on the stretch, but his desire to play one touch because he knew that's what the move needed. Love that. I love when a player looks after the team rather than, I'll tell you what, I'll bring it under my control. I'll have my touch. I'll have another touch. And the move's gone. He's stretching out to make it one touch because he knows he needs to be one touch. I've got a lot of time for him. There was an article around him the other day, and he was talking about when he first went into coaching, and he said, oh my God, this is like, I think he's like refound another phase of his football life.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt he's a student. There's no doubt whatsoever. But there was a part of me that wanted to see more of him when Odegaard was out due to his leadership capabilities. But in this game, and I will talk about it, got caught out a couple of times. I don't think it was his fault. But the way he acted put him in the referee's eye line. And that referee was I don't know what he was, right?
It was, everybody at the Emirates was certainly getting frustrated. I think we had 3 fouls and 3 yellow cards at the half, or 4 fouls and 3 yellow cards. I mean, it was certainly a case, again, of overly officious refereeing, leading to a possibility where the referee was going to put himself in a bad place for the game overall.
And we're hypersensitive towards red cards at the moment.
Yeah.
So it's not the first time we've seen someone come off when they were in danger of getting sent off. Right?
The manager, by the way, very specifically said it after the match. He said, I took him off because he was on the yellow card.
He would have stayed on.
Yeah.
He would have stayed on. He would have stayed on for another 10, 15 minutes or so. Then he would have come out on 60. And that would have been absolutely fine. So he comes out on 45 and we go from there. So pleased for him. I didn't want to go to Jesus, but I'm pleased for Jorginho because we found him and we got a lot. I said to you earlier, Elliot, we've got 4 competitions between now and the end of January. So are you telling me he's not going to play?
Yeah, he's going to. I mean, I think what's really nice about this game in terms of the midfield is you have Jorginho, Marino, and Odegaard, and it worked and it looked good. And then you have Partey come on and he scores a goal with Marino and Odegaard. Rice gets completely rested, and we still are able to dominate a game. I think midfield is going to have to be a shared area of the pitch if we're going to get through this, this congested period.
Let's go, right? Let's go. So midfield is no longer midfield like it used to be. Because if you look at the average positions of Gabriel and Saliba, where they're standing, they're basically midfielders.
Yeah.
They're holding midfielders where they're playing. And so Jorginho is a central point of the wagon wheel, I call it, the guy that everyone rotates around, right? So Calafiori, where does he play? Inside and out. Timber.
Sometimes one line up from where Jorginho's standing.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's just a space we want to manage. Positioning, basically. And then we want to manage it. But he's a central player. And he doesn't drop into the back line like Partey does. If you watch it closely, because you got a good view, what they tend to do sometimes on some phases of play, Partey drops even behind the centre backs, and they push on, and the fullbacks push on even further. Right, so it's just another exit plan. I've seen some coaches' exit plans recently, and they have these all written down. Everyone knows where to stand. This is not like he's doing it because he wants to. This is what they do on certain exits. So it's just style. If you want to see it, you can. If you don't want to see it, you don't have to. But you can always tell what someone's been told to do if you watch the recovery runs, where they run to and the spots where they stop. And that tells you the shape that we're trying to have when we get the ball back. Right, so a little trick for you. Watch where they run to when they recover, and then you'll see everything about what we're trying to do.
Yeah, and I think the hard part about diagnosing the performance of any individual player also is we had so many important pieces back, right? So we had Odegaard back in. We had Calafiori and Timber, I think, on the sides where they are best and back in with Saliba and Gabriel, right? We had all of these pieces. Marino now starting to bed into the left 8. And so I think the collective looked more cohesive. And that's naturally going to lead to a lot of identifying single players as having been relevant to the overall performance, when in fact, I think collectively we were stronger. I want to do something a little unorthodox here, which is instead of just diving right into the Odegaard praise, and he deserves it and we'll get into it, I want to say something about Bukayo Saka. We have talked about it so much on this pod. Saka certainly benefited from Odegaard being back and Timber at right back. The right-hand side, that pod looked good again, right? The triangles on the right, that one-touch sort of small-sided game was great. But there were a lot of moments in this game where we got the ball into the box, someone took an extra touch, or there was an extra dribble, or there was a blocked shot, or we didn't quite create the clear chance we might have otherwise. Someone's got to break the game open. Someone's got to get the pressure off the team, because I can tell you this much, as good as we looked, if this had gotten a halftime 0-0, if this had gotten a 50 minutes 0-0, with what we've been going through in our attacking challenges, I think the anxiety in the crowd on a cold, wet, windy night when people probably didn't really want to be there to begin with, it would have amplified. Someone's got to break the game open. And as it always seems to be the case, Bukayo Saka takes on the key moment and gets the first goal, the goal that I think eases some tension and lets us make this game more comfortable. So I just want to talk through maybe that goal and Saka's role as the player who makes the key first involvement in games that we really depend on.
Yeah, I'm not the only one to notice it. I mean, he's the first one over the top in almost every home game I watch, and we just go to him. And once we go to him, we're in. It feels like we're going to take somebody out, and he's the first one for the first cross, the first shot, the first assist, or sometimes the first goal. He's just super key, right? So it's actually quite pleasing that we managed to do something on that right side later on in the game. But it's it's quite interesting you mentioned Liverpool earlier, and I know we talk about Liverpool a lot on this podcast, maybe too much. They've got a bloke out there doing that work for them, haven't they? Mo Salah, and he's doing a lot of the creating, a lot of the scoring. And
I just want to be clear. If I was playing against the Southampton keeper, I would have scored from that situation. I have genuinely no effing idea what that guy was up to.
Well, it's just really
because of Ramsdale's injury too. So thanks, Aaron.
This is where you get a little bit of luck with your scheduling, right?
Yep.
So if you have an away game after the international break, it can cause you problems. We've had some big ones, and Liverpool have had home games, and they have their first away game to the team at bottom of the league with their second or third choice goalkeeper in goal who hadn't played for 3 months and looked like it. And I don't think they win that game with Aaron Ramsdale in goal. I don't think they do, right? So that's where you get a bit of fortune with the schedule, right? So but there is a discussion to have. It's maybe not yet about how we. I want to use the word platform Saka from a attacking point of view, and I do think there's going to be a time very, very soon when we need to relinquish some of the defensive responsibility on him. Because there's a lot of information out there on the games and the minutes that he's played. And I think he's quite economical in games. I think he gets himself out of games. We play a lot of minutes for a kid his age. And can we, if he's starting to finish like that and create like that and score like that, which he has done for a while now, should we invest in it more? Should we stop him having to do as much? And that goes against, I mean, you watched it on the weekend. That goes against the team ethic. But there comes a time when someone's saying, look, guys, I'm it. You know, is that time here now or in the future? But I do think it will evolve into a different way of playing because he's that good.
I think it really matters. I think for attacking players, having the extra little burst, having the extra bit of energy on the last action is so critical. And I feel pretty confident that it's affected Kai Havertz's start to the season because he's playing such a dual role and has had to cover so much ground and drop in defensively, then go try to win the aerial duels, on the long balls, and then go try to get in the box. I think you want your attacking players to have something in reserve for when they have to make that final action. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, when we've got all our defenders there and our ability to build up in different ways, then the attackers stay high, didn't they? I didn't see too much corner flag defending from Bukayo Saka in this game.
No.
I mean, it's a general point. It's something to think about as we evolve. And I do think it'll come from fullback here, that punch and power, almost having those centre-back fullbacks that can push out and drive. We've got 3, haven't we? Just off the top of our heads, we've got 3. And one's injured right now, but we've got 3. And I do think how we support them up there, I think is really important. And as Saka develops from the kid in the post room that's now going up the corporate ladder, and he's soon to be the CEO of the team, we got to treat him like it.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? He's got to have his own lift, Elliot. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
His own lift and his own PA and everything like that. It's coming.
Yeah, and ultimately, again, that goal that he takes, there has to be someone in the team who has that I'm him attitude, because there were moments in this game where I think we could have created clearer chances or could have scored other goals, but there is a little bit of after you, or maybe they'll set this player up. Not too much of it, but there's a bit of it. And in that goal, Saka has it in his mind, I'm going to fashion an opening for myself, get it on my left foot and hit it. And I think at some point you do need that. I mean, Thomas Partey, right? The second goal, that's not necessarily how we always want to play, which is shooting from outside the box. We do it less than almost any team in the league. But once in a while, you need to, when you're in the right position, buy a ticket. you know?
Well, if Scott was sitting next to us now, he'd say that's basically how City won the league last year. It was their long shooting.
It was Foden's outside of the box goals.
It was their long shooting. And with teams, I know you said after you, I know what you mean. But when teams are barricading that area where people know they want to shoot from inside the box, and they're literally putting bodies around there, what you're trying to do is to shake, bake, try to create half yard or kick through legs. Yeah. That's what you're trying to do, kick through legs. Sometimes it gets blocked, sometimes it gets deflected, goes in, sometimes it goes through legs. And you look like a hero. Do you know what I mean? And it's so interesting. The amount of long shots that go in the league, but even the Neto goal, look how close we were to blocking it. It's like fractions. And so with the globalization of coaching now and the people, how they're barricading those areas, outside the area shooting is really important, and taking those shots early. Because for all Saka's movement, once he did shape the yard, he flicked it in early, didn't he? Before the goalkeeper could set, he's like took it early, and that's what done it. So it's just one to watch. It's just football.
Yeah, well, there are a couple things around the game. First of all, we don't have to get into this, but I will say we can all be breathing a sigh of relief. I don't know if you've seen, I think it's Hudson-Odoi shooting and his studs going into the leg of William Saliba. It's a wet night. The pitch is slick. Saliba's leg doesn't plant. The ankle rolls a bit, but his leg gives away. And we're very lucky because that is a broken leg on a stickier pitch. And maybe that's just the luck we need, and hopefully he's fine because the ankle did turn over a bit. But so we dodged a bullet there. We dodged a bit of a bullet too. To your point about fortune, good luck. I think we've probably had a bottom 5% outcome for the first 11 games of the season. What I mean is every bad injury luck, every bad red card refereeing luck, every bad little bit of luck we could have had, I think we had in the bottom 5% of outcomes. In this game, though, they didn't have Morgan Gibbs-White. They didn't start Chris Wood. We got a little bit of fortune. And when you get that, it's incumbent upon you to take advantage of it. And we did that. And that's all you can ask from this team. And I think there was a really interesting thing. And Scott did publish some numbers on our data in the game broken up by quarters of the game, right? So first quarter, second quarter, third, fourth.
Yep.
I noticed that between the first quarter and second quarter, there was a relatively stark drop-off. And the reason I bring this up is I'm not going to do I went to the game, so now I know what it's like to be at the ground thing. Forget that. My wankerishness only goes so far. But that VAR review for offside took so long. And if you're there at the ground, what you see is the players are stretching and they're trying to keep warm. This was a cold, wet night. This is a hamstring go pop kind of night. They're trying to get loose. They're trying to stretch. And up to that point, we had been in the absolute ascendancy. We had been battering them. If you look at the data after that stoppage, there is a very clear drop-off in field tilt, possession, shots from Arsenal.
Yep.
And Clive, it really showcased for me how disruptive the lack of contemporary technology for solving these problems is to a group of players who are trying to stay warm, stay loose on a cold, wet night. And all of a sudden, the momentum of this game where Forest were in real trouble is totally sucked out of it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was going mad in my seat because I could see it. And the whole point of football, one of my many lines is you don't fail at football, you find your level, right? Mm-hmm. I knew the moment I found my level when I couldn't keep up anymore with the players that were better than me. I literally couldn't keep up with them athletically. Mm-hmm. Right? But mate, if I had VAR in my day, I reckon I could have played a couple of levels higher because I would have got a rest. I would have got a rest, and that's not the game. It's an anaerobic game of high intensity, technique under pressure. And you saw it. You saw it for yourself. There were literally people trying to stay warm. And then Rice had some possession after that.
Yep.
And I thought they got what they wanted because we come out the blocks a million miles an hour and we had them pinned and they were about to break. Suddenly, by scoring, we got a negative against us.
Exactly.
And now they get a rest. They're going over to their manager. They're getting instructions. They're getting on fluids. And they got hold of the ball. And we had to regain momentum again. So we should have gone in 2-0, maybe 3-0 in a normal day. But now we have to work a little bit harder. Obviously, after half-time, it sorted itself out. But this is what people don't realise. The desire to be perfect around decisioning is forgetting what the actual game is. There should be a point where they've got those lines out and say, you know what? If it's taking this long, let's just go with on-field decision. What will happen then is the people on field got to take responsibility for their decision, right? Real responsibility. Because if it's a toenail and they're guessing, they're thinking, I'm going to guess because I know they're going to do it afterwards. No, if it takes too long, just move on. The game is important. You're changing what we're watching. And, what if we lost a player with a hamstring after that?
Yeah.
Easy, it could have happened, right? Or they could have had an injury as well. So.
I hate comparison to American sport, but I'm going to use it here just because I think it's very instructive in the analogy I'm trying to make. In basketball, sometimes you'll see a team starting to go on a big run, and the other team's sucking wind, and they're falling apart. What does their coach do? Calls a timeout.
Yeah, which is okay.
That's exactly what this was for Forest, though, right? They're being pressed. They're not getting out. They're being pushed back. They're probably sucking wind. Their lungs are starting to burn a little bit. They're not wanting to be there. They're starting to get that thought in their mind, like, it's cold, it's wet, we're getting battered. Like, how can we get this over with? And suddenly, there's a break, and the manager can talk to them, and they can get some breath back in the lungs. It's just it's. You're right. You said it the best way possible, which is not surprising. But like, from scoring a goal, we got a negative.
Yeah.
As a final point, just on that disallowed goal, I'll simply say the number of times we get a free kick and Marino either nearly scores or does score is incredible. And like, he is going to be a major weapon.
Yeah, he's just a bloke.
Yeah.
Remember I called him a bank manager? He's a sensible bloke. He does sensible stuff. Ball comes, I'll tell you what, you need to go over there, I'll pass it there, shall I? Oh, that pass isn't there yet. So what I'll do is I'll manipulate one way, manipulate another way. Oh, the pass is there. No, I'll play it. Just a sensible bloke. That guy, that kid at school, does all the sensible stuff, pretends he's not revising, and then thinks he's top of the class. Do you know what I mean? He's a really, really sensible, good player.
Someone could sell a lot of merch doing a mocked up picture of Marino standing behind like the old timey bank window with mutton chops that they'll have to credit you. Okay, well, enough is enough. Let's get into this part of it for a second. I mean, football's an easy sport sometimes. The good players beat the worst players more often than not, unless it's Tottenham playing Manchester City, in which case Tottenham just find a way to get results, hilariously. But
apart from the one time we need them to get a result.
When
they couldn't be bothered to put the ball in the net. But yeah, I'm over it.
We're not mad. Let's talk about Martin Odegaard. There was this frustration at using Odegaard's absence as an excuse for things not looking right. But when you see Odegaard at his best doing what he does, you realize that excuse is a valid explanation for struggles. And it is entirely fair if you want to point to the idea that we should have had a backup player for Odegaard who is more analogous to what he does, or we should have used Nwaneri more when he was out. You can make all those arguments, but it wasn't going to be Odegaard. It simply wasn't. And Odegaard is at a level that maybe we don't even fully appreciate. And Clive, in this game, just watching him, and especially because the nice thing is being at the ground where you don't have to just watch what the camera shows you can just follow a player around.
Yep.
The amount of movement he does off the ball to make it easier for everybody else to do what they need to do is stunning.
Yeah, he sees a different picture.
Yeah,
he sees a different picture that I can't find him, mate. I can't find him. I go for a change my glasses. I can't find him. And the next minute, the ball's at his feet. I'm thinking, well, how have you done that? You know, I think I remember when my favourite ever Odegaard game, West Ham away. I think it was a 3-3. When Callum Chambers set up a couple of goals. That was the day he really entered my mind as a top player. I remember watching Declan Rice trying to track him. Couldn't track him.
Yeah.
He couldn't track him, couldn't find him. And I thought, it's COVID times this was. And I thought, my goodness, I'm gonna say these words, but please don't kill me for it. But he almost has a Messi-like influence over the team. And that's almost, and I felt it that day. I thought I might have said it at the time on the podcast. I thought, I'm going to get hammered for that. Because there's only one Messi, right?
Yeah.
We all know that.
Yeah.
But he has
Miami legend, Leo Messi.
He has that influence over the team. When he's there, the team feel different. You know, and why is that? Why is he there? Because he has bad games. There are some people out there who say he doesn't make us better. There's some people say he doesn't play well in big games. But I tell you what, when you're in a dressing room and you're putting on your shin pads and you look around and he's there, other people suddenly are 10 feet taller, right? And that's the truth. We can all see it now. He just understands the pattern of the game. He varies the game. I was there, obviously you, and I think he maybe gone away and thought about his game even more and come back and just gone to another level.
So I have a thing about Martin Odegaard that I observe that feels like his superpower, which is he can manipulate time. And what I mean is when he gets the ball in very tight spaces where there's no room and no time, his close control and his technique and the way he manipulates the ball gives him more time to do the next thing he needs to do. And here's why I think this is so important. And Mikel emphasizes duels, and we make fun of that. But I think the reason he emphasizes those is games are won and lost in the change of possession. Games are won and lost in the duel. A duel you win, you recover the ball, the team's out of shape, you go and score. Or a duel you lose, which opens space for the team to do something because you're now out of position. And I think what Odegaard does so brilliantly is he gets the ball in a space where the other team might ordinarily be able to win it back and try something. He keeps it. They are out of position, and he manipulates that extra time to now find a Bukayo Saka in space or find a teammate in space. And we have really missed that because as hard as Kai Havertz works, he is more functional in those spaces, but Odegaard uses those spaces much more hurtfully,
Yeah, Havertz is very complimentary to Odegaard, actually, because he does a lot of things that he doesn't find so easy. There are different types of duels, right? So obviously Marino's been brought in, we've YouTubed him to death, and we're thinking, well, he's just a tackling monster. And so, but there are the part of Marino that you're excited about. It's not his defensive tackling duels, but the fact he offensively winning the game with his ability. Because I always think of his offensive duel. Is that the right phrase? Not sure it is the right phrase. But Odegaard wins his duels. So basically, he does his man. He pockets his man. Mm-hmm. He pockets the next man. So he's winning his individual battle, his duel, by his on-ball play. What's really impressive about Marino is not been his tackling, though he reads it very, very well, is that when he gets the ball, he's winning the duel. He's winning the duel with the ball. With the ball. And that's the other, this is where football, I'm going to say this to you now, right? On my dog walks, this is where football's going. Everybody has their system. Everybody understands positional play on the pitch. Everyone understands what they want patterns of play. But what's the differentiator? Differentiator is one-on-ones. Your one-on-one ability. That's what's going to make you elite, right? So you can be knocking the ball around, doing all this, but you've got Ryan Fraser right back like Southampton yesterday, up against quick players. It's over for them. He's going to lose that duel, and someone else got to cover, and that means there's a gap and there's a goal conceded. You've got to have the ability to win your one-on-ones. A lot of the coaching is all about one-on-one ability. Martin Odegaard wins his one-on-one. He wins the next one and the one after that. He allows the next player to win his one-on-ones because of the pace of pass he's getting. And that's what's so important. And then when he hasn't got the ball, what does he do? He shifts us up the pitch. He gets us up. And that's what I've really noticed. So our line height, obviously there are people out there going to say, well, Clive, our line height hasn't changed since Odegaard's come back in. Well, I'm watching the game. And I know our line height is far more aggressive in the two games that I've seen since he's come back in. And so we'll see, right? So yeah, he is a complete footballer that understands the individualistic side of the game while being the ultimate team player at the same time.
Yeah, and again, because he can take on so much responsibility between the lines and stitching things together, now suddenly a Marino performance that isn't sparkling and popping looks really functional and supportive and effective. Whereas if that had been Kai maybe having to play the right eight, and Kai can't take on the responsibility in regard, Marino now has to play a different role. These pieces are complementary. And so it looked a lot more effective. And in fact, and look, maybe this had something to do with the elements and the fact that Kai wasn't playing. We had a smaller front line than we traditionally do. Raya went long a lot less. I thought he picked some brilliant passes, one line up, not just going to Saliba or Gabriel, but finding a player one line up. And Raya was a lot more creative with his intermediate passing in this game on a very wet, windy, night when it could have been very difficult. It all just stitched together better. And I can't get away from Odegaard as a big reason for that.
He is a massive reason for that because he goes and gets it deeper and he turns around. And so he overloads in our base and then he turns around and flicks it out and we go from there. But this going long thing, let me just squash that right now, right? So I don't mind us going long. We're not going long like when I used to play, straight from goal kicks, bang, header on the halfway line, whoever wins it, we go from there. We're playing the ball deep, and then we're bringing people onto us. Then we're going longer, right? So it's almost like the passes before we go long. People need to track that. And so in this game, the way Forest play, they're a counter-attacking team. So they're happy in a mid to lower block. Not a low, but a mid to lower. You don't kick it into them, do you? You draw them out. You draw them out. So the way to get them out of their holes was to say, we're going to build up around you. You're not going to be able to, you don't want to get aggressive. You want to stand in your shape, which is fine. But we're gonna build up around you and go from there. And that's what we did. And so when they did come on to us, because now we're owning the story of the game, we scored the first goal. So now they have to come out and press a little bit. Guess what we're going to do? We're going to pop it around, create overloads in central areas, and go from there. I have to say the centrality of our game, again, I'm not seeing the passing pattern, so it's all from gut feeling. The centrality of our game felt better. It felt like we were getting to central areas better. We definitely did that against Chelsea. And then that continues, right? So we got more variations of getting to the areas we want to get to with this guy on the pitch, particularly Odegaard, and other people follow his lead. They start to move. They start to move off their spots, and it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, it is all good. I want to talk a little bit about Jesus' performance. Obviously, want to talk Nwaneri. Want to talk a little bit about the Lisbon game. So we'll get through all that. But before I do that, I want to do this and just tell you that I am currently, or at least as of a couple hours ago, using NordVPN from here in Lisbon because there are things I wanted to watch. In fact, there were sports I wanted to watch while I was here that I wouldn't be able to watch without NordVPN. And I brought up my phone, I tapped on the app, I browsed back to my home location, and boom, I could watch the things I want to watch with threat protection, which, football fans, we're sometimes on links that are maybe a bit dodgy.
Are we?
I mean, I'll never tell. But if you are, having threat protection is important. One of the things I like about Nord is that the speeds are really good. So when you're using the VPN, you still get sort of the speed that you're expecting from your internet. It is usable on Mac and PC and Android and iPhone and tablets. And it's just an app. You say, I want to stream from here, and you do it. And you can watch those geo-locked videos. Or you can even sign up for streaming services like in the foreign country where it costs less and just watch it from your home location. So lots of ways you could do this. Also, not to mention that some of these streaming services will release content sooner in some geographies, and you might want to just watch it sooner because, we're instant gratification oriented. So grab your exclusive NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/ArsenalVision to get a huge discount off your NordVPN plan, plus 4 additional months on top. It's completely risk-free with NordVPN's 30-day money-back guarantee. That's nordvpn.com/ArsenalVision. Do it now, Clive. Is that about that?
Indeed.
Okay. Before we talk Nwaneri, I just want to say this. This was Schrodinger's Jesus game. And what I mean by that is, if you are frustrated with Jesus and think he's not good enough, you will open the box and you will see a Jesus who was not good enough. If you are someone who thinks there might still be usefulness in Jesus for us and that he can be a functional player in this side, you will open the box and say, that was a functional performance where he had some good moments. He had the curler that he just missed. Tim and I did the instant reaction, staring into each other's eyes as you and I are doing now, and he gave Jesus a stock rising, and my jaw nearly hit the floor because I had a very different perspective. But I thought that was instructive because his point was he went from being a player that I thought maybe we just can't use him in important ways to having a game that reassured me that, hey, we can play this guy in situations where we need to rest somebody. Whereas I saw the things he's not doing, the sparkle that's not there, the really explosive moments. I find him less able to beat a man, less able to get past that first defender than he is. So when you open your Schrodinger's Jesus box, what Jesus do you see in the box?
Yeah, so I thought it was very, very smart from Tim to make him a stock rising. He wouldn't have been mine, however, there were many on the day, right? So he wouldn't have been mine. But think of the thought process around this, right? So you've had these ideas. It's quite interesting. This is how people analyse football. You have a memory. If you look back to the game we played at Bournemouth a couple of years ago when Jesus just came, he is just running through them. Unbelievable. Breaking ankles everywhere. He's not that player at the moment.
No.
He isn't that player at the moment. And so you have to say to yourself, if he's not that player, is he a different player? And can he still be useful? You have to allow people to, evolve and do something different. But much like we're going to talk about Nwaneri, you have to rebuild a player. And how do you rebuild a player? Brick by brick. And he laid a couple of bricks down in this game. From when there was no wall at all. The last game I saw him come on, I didn't see anything in that Chelsea game.
Yeah.
And I was really frustrated with him not because of any dislike towards me or anything like that. I'm frustrated with him because I know we need him. And so to see him come back to a level, I'm not talking that Bournemouth level a couple of years ago, pre-World Cup. I'm just talking a level. And if that shot goes in top corner, we're having a different conversation, Elliot.
Yeah.
And that's what Mikel's trying to find. He's trying to refine that spark. Now, is he gonna accept the fact that he may not be first pick every single week, and he is part of a front six group, and he needs to be really important part of that group? If he accepts that and he works as hard as he did, because he did a lot of hard work off the ball, he stopped a couple of counter-attacks. He was a 6.5, 7 out of 10 on a day when we were all excellent, right? So that's fine by me. That is fine by me. And if he can get a couple more appearances this week, that's what we need. We need that. And so yeah, I totally understood Tim's. I thought it's very smart that he picked him. Because it also drives a conversation about where he is, right? And he's on his way back.
Yeah, I mean, we need him because at the moment we don't have anyone else really for that. I mean, we have Kai, right? But we don't have anybody else that I think can play that role. And he's a player we've given a lot of money. He's still in the prime of his career. We need him to play minutes. I think the way I look at it is just, this is a guy who started at striker for Arsenal on a day we won 3-0. In a game we had a lot of the ball and a lot of threat. He had one shot off target and one dribble attempted that failed. And that to me is still, that's my point. We're getting functional Jesus here, but we're not, like, one dribble attempted that failed, even more than the one shot to me. The thing I used to love about Jesus, and I'd defend him against people and say, well, he's not a goal scorer, he doesn't get enough shots. I'd be like, but the way he unsettles back lines with his escapability and his dribbling makes opportunities for other players. If he's not doing that, then I think you're seeing a much less effective Gabriel Jesus.
Yeah, so look, he's being rebuilt.
Yeah.
He's not the player that he was. He's not in that form at the moment. When the ball's getting exited out long, and he would pin the defender, even though the defender was a foot taller than him, and he would hold that ball up. And he would twist away from him and we'd be on the attack. He's not doing that anymore. And I can tell he's not super confident. I can always tell when, again, you can tell the shape when someone's recovering back in. You can also tell who someone is when they're breaking out and where they go to. The amount of times he goes wide left as we're getting out of our shape tells me where he likes to be.
Yeah.
He likes to be wide, half space wide, lane 4 in that area. Whereas this team literally played without a centre forward in this game. We had attackers on the pitch, and maybe our centre forward, back to where we were earlier on, was Bukayo Saka for much of the game. We used him as a wide centre forward to post up, hold up, turn, and then create. Because our other centre forward wasn't really doing that.
Yeah.
And maybe Odegaard does a lot of that holding the ball to allow us to get into attacking shape and get up the pitch. And so it's all fine by me. If that's what you'd like as your centre forward, then that's good. But trust me, when the medals are being handed out, we're going to want a centre forward. We're going to want to know where he's going to be. We want him to win duels. We want him to hold the ball. We want him to run in behind. We want him to be in the central area of the pitch. Right now, November, we're in a 3-game week, and we're going to be in a 3-game week for a while now. This worked on the day, but for me, it's not optimal. But what's more important, not how I feel, what's more important is this player is being rebuilt. And we maybe saw a stage of that on Saturday.
And to your point about who we're platforming, I mean, Bukayo Saka, 13 touches in the attacking penalty area, the most, 6 shots, the most, 6 take-ons, the most, 19 progressive passes received, the most by 10, right? So while Odegaard was extraordinary in this game and certainly the eye-catching player in many ways, Odegaard chose to platform Saka, the team platformed Saka, and that's not a dumb thing to do when he's your best player.
He was basically our centre forward.
He
was our centre forward. And so position is one thing, but he was our most central attacking threat.
And I think it's interesting too, because elements play into a game. And, I talked about maybe going long less or set piece threat or whatever it is. We didn't start Kai. the way that wind was swirling, the way that rain was coming down, you had to keep the ball on the ground. You had to. I saw one corner that I thought was going to go right into the perfect spot, and it literally just blew away like a beach ball. So I think it's time. Let's talk about Ethan Nwaneri. Mikel said he needs to be built up brick by brick, that there's a plan and there's a process. But Mikel admitted it's going to be harder to wait because there's an urgency to see him play more. People want to see this guy play. And the best credit I can give him is when he came on, it felt like a continuation of the Odegaard performance. Now, there's a slightly different thing. I think Odegaard has a little more pausa in his game, and Nwaneri has a little more, let's go. Let's get to the penalty area. Let's get forward. Let's beat a man and drive. And, Tim called this out, but I think it's a great point. When he scores his goal, the reaction isn't that of a kid. When it's full time, the reaction isn't that of a kid. He claps the fans. He celebrates his goal, but he is all business. He is a player who at least outwardly projects the confidence and the maturity that he is just part of the group. And you always want to be cautious because of game state and games, when he's coming on and the situation he's coming into. But I totally understand Mikel's desire to build him up brick by brick, but it looks like there's already a hell of a lot of bricks in the wall,
Yeah, he's 17. He's just young. He's just emotionally young. That's fine.
Since he'll be 18 in I think 2 or 3 months, can we play him then?
No, he's not. He's not even 18 till March, I believe.
March, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he's just young, and he's in a big boy's room, and he's being respectful to that room, and he's not giving it the big, and he's not knee sliding, ripping his shirt off. He's just saying thanks a lot, and going from there, as any young person would do who's respectful of their environment. So what do we have here? We have the best player in the country of his age group, without doubt, right? So he's England under 19 captain, I believe, and he's no secret to anybody. And so when you have that responsibility, which we do, and we seem to have his trust and his family's trust, we have to look after it. We really do. And he's about to get a new contract, hopefully, from what you read. And he's getting that because he's obviously good enough, but he's going to sign it because he's happy with his progression. Yeah. He's what sort of annoys me a little bit is, you can no secrets anymore now, right? You got Max Dowman training at 14. Jack Wilshere was training at 15 for the Arsenal team. Nwaneri's been training at Arsenal's first team many more times than we all know. So he's been built up by the current management and coaches. And now those same management and coaches are getting slapped for not playing him enough when they actually helped build him, to develop him, moved him around positionally in all these youth team games to make sure he's a rounded player, moved him around in pre-season, and we saw it of ourselves. So we got somebody who can play probably a couple of positions in midfield. He could play either side 8. And there's going to be game states and scenarios, and we're going to want that, with a defensive player behind him. So we haven't shut the door. We bought a 28-year-old centre mid. Do you think that was just by luck? We bought a 28-year-old centre mid. So if he needs to play on either side, he can. I do think that when Odegaard comes back and we're not playing the 4-4-2 football anymore, Odegaard's come back, and what's happening is I think he'll get more minutes. We said this, didn't we? He'll get more minutes now Odegaard's back because the analogy is there. You can take minutes of Odegaard and he can play 3 times a week. And so this is the time to see him. I want to see him on the left side as well. We saw it at SoFi, the goal he created for Jesus, whether that slot on the left-hand side. Mate, he's just a midfield player that we need to find a space in our team for eventually. And it's going to happen. And it will feel very, very natural. But what I will say, we shouldn't be hammering the manager for not playing him when we wouldn't even see him if it wasn't for the manager building him up. I think that's not right.
Do you have any frustration, though, that given that our attack wasn't firing, that he's an option we didn't look at more during the period prior to this?
Yeah, but what happens if he has a bad game? What happens then? He has a bad game and does a Xerxes yesterday And Xerxes is a £35 million player, and he kicked away in the car park, right? And
I think they paid a hell of a lot more than that.
You're probably right. And he's going to take a while to recover from that. I'm not saying it's going to happen to you, Nwaneri, because when you're a player from the academy, you get lots and lots of time. However,
for what it's worth, I think Xerxes is going to do brilliantly at Girona on loan next season.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe in January. He has not settled, right? So, but the important thing is if we don't break him emotionally, we don't put him in a situation that he can't handle, right? So we've spoken about him, and we can see he's a quiet individual, right? He's a super hot, loud talent, but he's a quiet individual.
Yeah.
None of us have seen him have a bad game. None of us have seen him have a bad moment and see how he recovers from that. We have no view of the negative side. So we have to build up that mental robustness to allow him to cope where the whole country is watching him, where he's the most famous footballer of his age in the whole country. He's a kid at Liverpool. They just stole from Chelsea. That's very, very good. Similar age group. We all know the youth players now who are hot. Look at that young player playing Southampton yesterday, Tyler Diblin. He's 18, 19, is he? Outstanding player. Went to Chelsea. I believe he didn't settle, and they brought him back to Southampton. And now he's playing, and he's ripping it up. But it takes time to get there. We just have to trust the experts on this one. I'm strong
move
on this.
Where he dropped his shoulder, tricked his way past a guy, put it on his left, and curled it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's everything. Let's put it this way. You can't coach that.
Well, Elliot, there was a moment, and I like to think I don't get surprised too often, but when he came on against Leicester, and he came from the touchline, and he blew in from the touchline and took a shot, similar but quicker, more intense, more power, my jaw hit the ground. I went, oh my God. The pace of it just took it away. This wasn't a high-paced movement. It's just skill. Came inside against Murillo, froze him dead, and then clipped him around the corner. Guy's got super talent, supervision, and yeah, he mustn't be a problem for all us Arsenal people. To find a kid in Islington that good, right close to the ground with his family or Arsenal people, this doesn't happen every 2 minutes. This is an absolute genius, freak of nature, super talent. You do not find world-level talent within a few miles of your ground. You just don't find that all the time. So we just need to be cool and just wait.
Just to that point, do we sell Odegaard to make room for Nwaneri, or sell Nwaneri to make room for Max Dowman? Just so you. No, well, I'm kidding. Stop. Yeah, he looks brilliant, and we're going to see more of him this season as time goes by. I hope it is not obviously to cover for absences, but let's put it this way. Mikel's talking brick by brick. None of the bricks are falling off the wall, so to speak. Every time we put another brick on, he looks ready for it. Every time he loads him up with some other responsibility, he looks ready for it. The way he took his goal, again, He doesn't slash at it. He doesn't smash.
Can I hold you 1 second there, Elliot?
Please.
How many times have you seen him play 90 minutes of football?
Never.
He hasn't.
Did he play 90 against Preston in the League Cup?
And that was a League One. League One, yeah. And so one thing I say to you is, we have to build him. We have to build him. When he did play in that game, he went down with cramp. We have to build him.
Every time he started a game, he's had to come off with cramp. So we do know that, and that because he's a child. He is a child.
But he's gonna be unbelievable. And when he does flash, of course you want him to play. I want him to play all the time.
We are unfortunately, look, to your point earlier, right? When Messi was in his pomp, everything was compared against Messi, right? It was, this is the new Messi, or this is the midfield Messi, or this is the Islington Messi, or this Messi, that Messi. Yeah. We're living in the Lamine Yamal era now, and so any young player who flashes extreme talent is, Lamine Yamal's doing it at 60. Let players be individuals. I know we want to find analogs, but we don't have to. Let's start to wrap. And move off this game. It's a very important win, obviously, to start what hopefully will be a very big run. City play Liverpool this coming weekend, and that's going to be a big moment. We're away, I believe, at West Ham, but before that, we have this Lisbon game. And Clive, we want to be in the top 8. We still have Monaco at home, Girona away, and Zagreb at home. Not necessarily in that order, of course, but that's what we've got remaining. People get annoyed when you don't call things must win because they want, standards FC, mate. We got to win them all. I get it. We should win this, and I hope we do. I do think that we can avoid defeat here and still go on and be in the top 8, but winning here charts a much smoother course to the top 8. And I think we were unfortunate in Milan, obviously. So Amarim's gone. What did they do? I think they went out and hammered someone 6-0 this weekend to prove that maybe Amarim wasn't the only thing, that made them special. Gyökeres, of course, is going to want to show, you think I'm just some Portuguese league guy? Look what I can do against top opposition. And I expect us to be effective against him because I think similar to Haaland, he is a big running, powerful center forward who wants to get into space and hit the ball hard. And Saliba and Gabriel have done well with that challenge in the past. But I think for me, Clive, and this is where I want to focus our conversation about this game just for the next 5 minutes. I think this is a key moment for Arsenal in this respect. It is time for us to go away in Europe and show that we're not just organized, but that we will actually attack the opposition goal, that we will play the hurtful ball, that we will try to split the defense, that we will try to put them under threat. Mikel Arteta teams never look disorganized. I cannot remember a time we went into a game and we looked shit. Right? I can't remember a time we went into a game like the other team was having chances for fun and we couldn't defend and there were spaces everywhere. That's not who we are. Of course, we're going to be organized. But I do think away in Europe, we've been half a team. We've been the organized team, but we haven't been the threatening team. And I'm sorry, Clive, I think this is a moment for us to go away in Europe and try to layer on that next thing. Because if we want to win this competition, we're not going to win this competition. I mean, you can. Of course you can. But I don't think we're going to win this competition being a team that just plays for 0-0s away in Europe all the time. We got to go find a goal. So what do you think about the idea that the key in this game, of course, try to win it, but maybe show a little more of our attacking personality than we have away in Europe in the past?
Yeah, it's time. It feels like time. That's why we're here, right?
Because I'm going to be sitting next to you complaining about it, and you don't want that.
It feels like time. It will be nice. It would be nice. It's quite interesting. I just looked online, and Gyökeres didn't play at the weekend. Came off the bench. Mm-hmm. So everyone realizes now you got to have fresh players. The Amande, I don't think he played central defender. Ignacio played central centre-back, but he'll play left centre-back, and he's a good player. I quite like him. He got some decent players. Let's see how they go, right? So Trincao was at Wolves last year, and he's a lefty winger. He carries the ball nicely, Chris Waddle style. I quite like him. Let's see. But it is time for us to show up. It is time. Let's see what we do. But... okay, we've got an injury of Ben White at the moment. We're starting to get players healthy. We've got less sort of health issues than we did have. Touch wood, he said Sleep was okay. We have less health issues. So we go in there tooled up, Elliot. So if we go in there tooled up with players that have been a little bit rested, and we can get other players who did play on the weekend heavy minutes, we can get them off. And we can get them off for players who are now sharp and ready to play. Then let's see how we go. So I think it's time. If we can knock off these few games and finish in the top 8, it reestablishes us as that level of team, which I think we are, and we go from there. It gives us confidence for the next later rounds of the Champions League.
Any assumptions about the lineup that you don't just want to throw in? I assume Kai comes back, Martinelli comes back. I'll be very curious to see if Declan Rice comes in or if we're just going to try to give him more time to get that toe completely healed up. It could be Jorginho and Partey sharing the game again. It could be Partey from the start. It could be Rice and Partey and Marino comes out. I think Odegaard, Saka will start again, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's Kai and Martinelli. Any thoughts on us making some changes? Will we maybe try to protect our fullbacks who we know are going to have to play a lot? Might there be a surprise there? A Partey at right back and a Rice in midfield?
I don't think we're going to end up with Partey at right back. If Rice is fit, I think he'll play. I think we'll play Partey, Rice, and Odegaard in midfield. Same back five as we had at the weekend, and I think Martinelli and Kai will come in into the front line, and then we'll end the game differently. And because we've got West Ham at the weekend, and we need to do with them as well. And so I thought Bukayo spent too long on the pitch, if I'm honest with you, at the weekend, but he knows how to manage himself. But we need to get him off the pitch here because West Ham's the place we need to go to and get a result. And West Ham they need a scalp. And so, yeah, that's what I would do. That's not me picking just the strongest team. If you think that Jesus played a heavy game, Marino played a heavy game on the weekend, and the other players sort of got off the pitch, so I think they're being saved. Martinelli, he didn't barely warm up, right? So I think he's going to come in and play. Trossard had a heavy amount of minutes in that game.
And he took a knock in international for Belgium too.
Yeah, he's a smart lad, right? He took a knock and he said, this is not working for me. I've got to go back. I'm in contract talks. I need my club to realise that I'm taking this serious.
People forget, one of the advantages of that run last season when it was 5-0 and 6-0 and 4-0 is you can share games. And so we were able to take Calafiori off and get Zinchenko on at 62 minutes or whatever it was and give Odegaard a few minutes rest at the end and give Saka a few minutes rest at the end. And Timber came off for Kivior. And again, we're talking about 5-6 minutes. But, having a 2-0 and 3-0 lead, you can do that. We are probably going to have to try to share games through this run to keep everyone fit through it, which means we're going to have to play really well. I think we leave it there. You'll get a proper instant reaction from Tim and Paul at full time on Tuesday, but you will get a voice recording from Clive and I as well, because who's going to stop us from saying what's on our mind?
Can't stop Elliot, can you really? Let's be honest.
Yeah, so someone will stop me. So all of that coming this week, and then I fly back on Wednesday. There'll be normal service restored from there, but we're going to have pretty much normal service this week anyway. So if you do want to try out the Patreon and that's something that you've been thinking about, again, if you use the code 10NIL, all caps, TENNIL, all caps, it's 50% off. So, and we're going to run that through the rest of the year. Just something to try to say thank you for anybody that wants to be, a part of this. But if you're here, we love you for being here. Really, again, cannot thank you enough. So I'm going to go enjoy Lisbon, hopefully enjoy some time with some great Gooners and see Arsenal play a game that I can tell you this. It can only be better than the one we saw in Porto last season. So no denying that. Thank you, Clive.
Thank you very much.
My name is Elliot Smith. You can block me everywhere at Yank Gunner. We love you. And we'll talk to you after Arsenal 10, Lisbon 0.